Hello, I'm Claire Smith, welcome to my channel. So today's video is a fragrance tag. I've been tagged by John at Scented Snowdrops to do the Fandabby fragrance fan tag, and this tag was created by Jackie on Instagram, who is someone that I followed for a while. And I'm going to leave Jackie's Instagram down below in the description box in case you do want to go and follow Jackie. So Jackie's idea is basically to ask 10 different questions about fragrance, and these questions are really good actually. I really like these questions. I thought they were a bit out of the ordinary from the ones that you typically get around fragrance. So I'm not going to tag anybody specifically to do this video, but please feel free to participate if you do want to do this tag. And if you don't have a channel, then please just drop your answers in the comments below. I'd be really interested to read them. So the first question is, which is the first fragrance that you ever purchased? So I think probably the first purchase that I made was probably not even for me. I think probably the first fragrance that I bought was one for my mum for Christmas. I remember saving up to buy her Yves Saint Laurent's Rive Gauche when she'd run out one Christmas. I also remember buying myself fragrances from the Body Shop, so I would wear things like Oceanus, which is an aquatic, fresh, cool smelling floral fragrance. I also remember buying vanilla perfume oil as well, but I'm not really sure exactly of the timings of those. I think my first sort of properly branded fragrance that I bought myself would be DKNY Be Delicious. So that would have been about 2004, 2005, probably sometime just after it came out. I think that's a very nostalgic fragrance for me. That always takes me back to being in my early 20s, and it's a green apple and cucumber fragrance. It's very fresh feeling, also quite aquatic, but also it has some white florals in there as well. So yeah, it's one of those. So the second question is, which is your most recent full bottle purchase of fragrance and have you worn it? So the full bottle purchase is anything over 30ml. So yes, I've worn it, and my most recent purchase arrived 2 days ago. So this fragrance is Lolita Lempicka Eau de Toilette. So I'm really not someone who goes along and buys every flanker in a fragrance line, but I do really enjoy the Eau de Parfum, and I don't have very much of it. So I thought I'd just buy a bottle of the Eau de Toilette. And also I tried a sample of the Eau de Toilette at somebody's house and I'd really enjoyed it. It was just a bit fresher, a little bit more spring-like. And I just thought, I'm just going to go for it. So yeah, it was a great price and I just opportunistically saw it secondhand. So that's why I jumped on this one. So that's Lolita Lempicka Eau de Toilette. So question 3 is, which perfume, brand or material do you wish you'd tried earlier? I'm going to choose the brand Kilian for this answer because I just feel like I missed the boat. I missed the time when they were more affordable. I missed the time when they weren't owned by Estee Lauder. I missed the time when they're inventive and exciting, and I'm sad about that. I have tried lots of samples from John, who's Scented Snowdrops here on YouTube. He was a huge Kilian fan and he owns a lot of the older fragrances. And trying those has just opened my eyes to how great Kilian were, especially when he sent me a sample of Imperial Tea, which has just been relaunched. And you know what? I'm kind of scared to smell it because I just know it won't be the same as it once was. So it used to be a really green, fresh feeling jasmine fragrance with a sort of jasmine tea feel to it. Really a very stunning jasmine, something I've not smelt elsewhere, and I just would love to have a bottle of that fragrance. I just think it's beautiful, and yeah, I just wish that I'd tried Kilian earlier on and that I hadn't missed the boat with them. So question 4 is, which is your fragrance of shame? So I'm going to take this to mean, which fragrance are you most ashamed of having bought? So for me, hands down, it's Afnan's Rare Tiffany. I just didn't like that fragrance and I'd already sampled it before I bought it, which makes it even more mad to me that I ended up buying a bottle of it. I know why I did it though. It's because I was buying another fragrance and the website had a free delivery offer for a threshold spend, and it was really the only fragrance that they had that I'd tried recently. Even though I hadn't really liked it, I ended up buying it. I had this feeling to myself that I just should like it because everybody else on YouTube seemed to love it. And it was really, really hyped. And I just thought, well, maybe if I buy a bottle, maybe I'll start to understand it. Maybe this will turn into a love for me. I think I really just didn't trust my own views of fragrance, my own experiences of fragrance, because I was just sort of feeling a little bit alienated, I think, at the time. I think I was feeling like my taste did not fit in. my taste doesn't have to fit in. My taste is my taste. And ultimately, that should be the case for everybody, shouldn't it? If everybody liked the same things in life, it would be very dull. Perfume really wouldn't have the diversity that it does have. And that's the beauty of fragrance, that we all like different things. So if I don't like Rare Tiffany, it doesn't matter. And I was so happy to declutter that fragrance. And thankfully I sold it and I got most of my money back. But yeah, it's a warning to us all. And I'm hoping that I'm more sensible these days and I'm not buying things that I just don't like. So question 5 is, which are the last 3 fragrances you tested on skin, not on a test strip, and would you purchase any of them? So the first fragrance is L'Entité Absolue, which is a new flanker from Givenchy, which replaces the original Intense flanker that they discontinued. So the Absolue, if you've tried the Intense, is pretty much quite similar. It's along the same lines, but with the Intense you have the sesame, with the Absolute you have a more sort of aromatic feel. I think it's got lavender, but the lavender's really gentle in the dry down. It's also got this kind of dryness to it, but also quite a richness in the dry down. Did I like it? Yes, I did. I really like the L'Entité range and I would happily purchase another one, but do I need another one? I probably don't need another one, but I did really like it. And on me, it was very long lasting and very strong. The second one is another one that I tried in store, and this is a fragrance that I go and try pretty much every time I go into store because I think I'm obsessed with it, but I just still can't bring myself to spend how much it is. Because basically I don't want the 75ml size, but that's the only size that it comes in the store where I have some vouchers for fragrances. I know it's a very complicated story, this. So yeah, it's Orpheon by Diptyque. And Orpheon is a fragrance that I have just been obsessed with for maybe over a year. And every time I go in store, I go and spray it. It's an aldehydic, peppery rose fragrance. And I really like the aldehydes in that fragrance. That's what makes it stand out. Really long lasting again. Something very distinctive and something I probably will buy eventually. But I really would prefer to get a smaller bottle than the 75ml. And the third fragrance was one from Ibrahim Al-Qureshi called Musk Powder. So my friend at work actually originally comes from Saudi Arabia and she was wearing this fragrance and I complimented her on it and she said, "Oh, I'll bring it in. You can try it tomorrow." So she brought it in and I sprayed, maybe half a spray on my arm and it was so strong. It was pulsating off me for the whole day and it was literally filling my office. But also it lasted until I showered. It was just so long lasting, great performance. It smelled to me a bit like Narciso Rodriguez, Narciso Poudre. I wouldn't say it's 100% at all, but it's along the same lines. It's a rose musk, but the musk in that fragrance also had cashmere in it. So it turned it more into like a rose body lotion almost, but definitely still quite powdery in feel and quite a clean feeling musk. That fragrance, I think, is only about £25. I think if you are looking for a really long-lasting fragrance and you are looking for that type of fragrance, then that's probably a really good option. But that one just wasn't really for me because of the heavy dose of cashmere in the dry down. But I think that on her, it smelled amazing. So yeah, those are the 3 fragrances I've tested on skin recently. So the question 6 is, what is your favourite synthetic material in fragrance? So I could pick ionones here, which are the fragrance molecules that imitate, amongst others, violet, but I'm not going to because I might make a video on ionones eventually. So I'm going to choose aldehydes. So aldehydes are just something that I think are very love it or loathe it, and they might be a surprise choice for this question, maybe, for some people. But I think aldehydes just have a huge diversity. Of course, everybody knows like the soapy, clean aldehyde, but you can also have aldehydes that can make things smell bubbly or make things smell otherworldly or make things smell golden. And I just think aldehydes really bring a whole nother dimension to fragrances somehow. They make them kind of 3D somehow. So question 7 is, which is your favourite natural material? So I think I could choose lots of different things here, but I'm going to go for jasmine. And I know that you can get synthetic forms of jasmine as well, but I think there is still quite a lot of natural jasmine used in fragrances. So I think, the beauty of jasmine is that you have different types, don't you? You have the Arabian jasmine, the jasmine sambac, and you have the other jasmine, the grandiflorum. and they just smell quite different to each other. But also you can get, the greener aspects of jasmine, you can get indolic jasmine, you can get fresher jasmine, but you can also get quite sensuous and deep feeling jasmine as well. And even when you don't overtly smell jasmine in a fragrance, there can still be jasmine related fragrance molecules actually in the fragrance. And I think that's really why I want to pick jasmine, because it just seems so important to perfumery, but also because I really enjoy it. So question 8 is, which fragrance changed your stubbornly held view on something? So I'm going to choose Kenzo Jungle L'Elephant. So my friend at work actually got this as a gift from her husband, and she brought the bottle in because she knew that I enjoy fragrance and she wanted me to try it, and I told her that I hadn't tried it. And the reason I hadn't tried it was because YouTube had basically told me that I wouldn't like it. They told me it's a dry, spicy fragrance, it's hard to love. This is what people say on YouTube quite often. And it's a challenging fragrance. And do you know what? I tried it the first time, and okay, it was very different. It was outside my comfort zone. But I think I'd just always been of the opinion that I didn't like dry, spicy fragrances. But Kenzo Jungle Elephant completely changed that for me, because I think it has that licorice, which just gives it a little bit of a different sort of cooler spiciness in a way, I guess. And honestly, I absolutely love that fragrance. I really wish I'd tried it much earlier on. Although in some ways, maybe I would have had a different experience. Maybe I wasn't quite ready for it earlier on. But now I look back on it and I think, wow, I missed out on Jungle Elephant for a couple of years there. I should have been trying it earlier. So yeah, Jungle L'Elephant by Kenzo made me realise that I do, in actual fact, appreciate dry and spicy fragrances. So the next question is, what's your opinion on longevity versus projection, and which would you choose? Which would you prefer to have? So I think with longevity, I don't want something super eternal. I don't want a fragrance that I actually physically have to wash off. I like something that fades over maybe about a 10-hour period. I like to change my fragrances, and I don't want to have to wash what I'm wearing, including my coats, in order to do that. So I think 10 hours is about good for me. I don't want anything more than that. With projection, I just find it embarrassing if it's too strong, and I like something that I can dose quite accurately. There are some fragrances that are very much like 1, 2, 3 sprays for me maximum, and then there are other fragrances that I just think are very, very quiet and I spray much more of. But I don't want something that's going to project 10 metres away from me, because I wear fragrances all the time, and that's just not appropriate for workplace situations in general, is it? It's just not something that other people want to be subjected to day in, day out, however nice your fragrance is. So I think out of the two, I would probably choose longevity, because ultimately if something doesn't last more than a few hours, it becomes annoying to have to respray it. And also, I think if I were choosing massive projection, I just would never really be happy with how I was wearing fragrances, because I don't want to be offensive to other people. I don't want to, be aggressive in my fragrance wearing, basically. I wear fragrance for me, not really to be smelt by other people. So I think that's the reason that I would choose longevity over projection. The next question is, list 3 perfumers that you can recite without having to look them up. So I'm going to choose Annick Menardo. So I think she's the person who did Lolita Lampica, which I think is why she's on my mind. And she also did Portrayal and also Hypnotic Poison and probably many other fragrances. But those are the 3 that I know that she did. The other perfumers I'm going to choose indie perfumers, because, that's the beauty, isn't it, of being in the fragrance community and talking to people. You get to know indie perfumers and you can ask them things. So I'm going to choose Mabel O'Rama, because I was just astounded that she got to the finals of the British Fragrance Awards with her first 2 fragrances. I think that's astounding. She got to the final in 2 categories. She didn't win, but it's an amazing achievement in itself, isn't it, with your first couple of fragrances. So yeah, Mabel O'Rama. I'm also going to choose Elise. So Elise, I think her name's Wild Raven or Wild Raven, I'm not sure. She's a New Zealand perfumer and she runs One Way Bridge. And I've got Pitching Woo from One Way Bridge, so that's why I'm choosing her. But I've tried lots of other fragrances, and even if I don't love them, they all stand out. They've all got something about them that are really distinctive, really different, and I would love to explore more of her fragrances. I could also choose, Dominique Ropignon. I could choose, Francis Kurkdjian. There are loads of different perfumers you could choose, aren't there? But I really would like to focus on the indie perfumers because I feel like they're the heroes, aren't they? They're the ones that need recognition. They need more recognition. And the final question is, which is your favourite perfume to lift your spirits on a bad day? So I think there are some fragrances in my collection that feel very happy, but I have to be feeling quite happy to wear also before I put them on, because they can just feel like they jar. So I would class fragrances like Angel Nova as a fragrance that I think jars if you're not in a great mood, because it's just quite loud, it's quite bright feeling. I think another one that I find quite jarring if I'm not super happy is Insolence, because Insolence just feels so bright and so big. And I think if you're just not feeling it, then it can be oppressive almost. I think the one in my collection that I always reach for if I'm a little bit down is one that's got me through some tough times already, and that's Kenzo World. I just find that fragrance just to be a kind of clear thinking fragrance. It's something that makes me move on from certain thoughts, and I think that's just the fact that it makes me think of being in a bath. It makes me feel like I'm sort of almost cleansing myself, I think, and is really the feeling I get from that fragrance. And I think that's due to the ambroxan in that fragrance. The ambroxan is a very clear, crystal feeling kind of style of ambroxan. I guess there are different ambrox chemicals, aren't there? And that's why sometimes I think it's ambroxan, but it's probably not ambroxan. It's probably a related chemical that I'm just not in love with. But ultimately, I think there are some styles of ambroxan that I do really enjoy in fragrance. And in Kenzo World, that's a fragrance that I just think has a very calming vibe for me. And that's why I'm choosing that one. And that's why that makes me happy, because it's just something that helps me to relax. So that's my choice, Kenzo World. So that's the final question in this video. I have really enjoyed doing this tag from Jackie. I think there have been some really great questions as part of this tag. And if anybody else wants to do the tag, obviously feel free, I've said that before. And also, if you do want to answer some of these questions and you don't have a channel, then please just leave me a comment. I'd be really interested to hear some of your answers to some of these questions. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, then please press the like button and please also consider subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.